Good afternoon, Chicagoland, and welcome to another edition of the Green Radio Network. Here on the Green Radio Network, we'll bring you a variety of green topics and the latest information on green technology and transportation. This program features environmental leaders throughout northern Indiana and the entire nation. The Green Radio Network is sponsored by NIRPC, the Northwestern Indiana Regional Planning Commission, and the award-winning South Shore Clean Cities. Both entities are leaders in the environmental industry and work together to bring cleaner air and more sustainable living to northern Indiana. Now to introduce Carl Lissick, Executive Director of South Shore Clean Cities and the host of the show.
Well, thank you for that introduction. Today our guest is Miss Kathy Luther. She's the Director of Environmental Programs for the Northwestern Indiana Regional Planning Commission, or NIRPC as we all know. Kathy, welcome back to the show.
Well, good morning, Carl.
Good morning to you. So, great to have you back on the show, Kathy. And I just, we wanted to bring people back up to date on some of the things that are going on with air quality and environmental issues. And again, I know you're the Director of Environmental Projects and Programs for NIRPC. Why don't you tell a little bit about some of the things that are going on within NIRPC?
Okay. And if you don't know, NIRPC is the Northwestern Indiana Regional Planning Commission. We are the local council of governments for LaPorte and LaPorte counties. So our commission is made up of elected officials from every jurisdiction in that area. So if you live in LaPorte or LaPorte County, you have an elected official that represents you at NIRPC. And so the environmental department, what do? We have a charge from the state and from our commission to do participatory cooperative environmental projects. We do work in air and work in water and work in brownfields and a little bit of energy here and there, which, as you know, Carl, we work really closely with South Shore Clean Cities on energy and air. We can talk about that a little.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I think, that's one of the things is, you cover really air, land, and water. And again, how it affects Northwest Indiana. And again, I think, it's very interesting. And we always get those questions. Well, hey, is the air actually getting better in Northwest Indiana? And we always tell people, yes, it is. And, so, some of the other environmental concerns would be, with land and water. So maybe let's talk a little bit about that. Some of the things that are going on with land and water within our area and maybe some of the events and things that you're involved with. But again, Kathy, you're probably the busiest lady that I know, and you're involved with a lot of different things. And, thank you for being such a leader in environmental endeavors for our area. And, I think we always get that stigma with Northwest Indiana that we're not green or we're not environmentally friendly. And it's just the opposite. And so let's talk a little bit about that, some of the great things that are going on with programs and projects.
Well, one of the great projects that NIRPC has been working on, and our staff person, our water planner, Joe Axel, will be here later to talk to people about, is our watershed planning. Yes. And we've just completed a watershed plan for the Deep River Portage Burns Waterway, which actually is the largest portion of the Lake Michigan basin that we have in Northwest Indiana. It stretches from Crown Point and Merrillville and Hobart, unincorporated Lake County, a little bit in Porter County. It's got pieces of the Little Cal. It goes all the way up through Hobart Lake Station and ultimately through Portage and into Lake Michigan. So it's a really large watershed. We spent the better part of 2.5 years on developing a plan. And it's kind of like, your body and the water are the veins. And you have to figure out what's going on everywhere in the body to figure out where things are sick and where things are healthy and where you need to fix things and where things are good and you need to hold on to it. So that's really what a watershed plan is about. And so Joe's been working with local governments and environmental groups on that for several years with lots of sampling. Your doctor takes a blood test. And so for the watershed, lots of samples were collected all over the place to see how things were going. And so now we have a plan. It's been approved. And now we're going to be going forward very soon with implementation projects to put projects on the ground that will help keep the water clean, keep soil on the land instead of in the water. And some of those will be maybe helping farmers do practices, and some of those maybe helping municipalities do urban practices. So Joe's going to be coming on to talk about that, but I'm really excited to get a project past the planning stages and into implementation.
Sure, no, which is huge. And again, I think, from an economic development perspective, I think that's a lot when people are looking at coming in to Northwest Indiana or some of the environmental initiatives that we got going on.
Right. So we have a lot of the water is a lot better. Most of your discharges are really pretty much controlled most of the time in there, and so we really need to get on the land stuff. What's going into the water off the land that we can do something about. So and that's really exciting, and it's really economical too. To do watershed, take care of the watershed on the land is so much less expensive than dredging projects or giant water filtration projects and things. So that's really an exciting thing coming forward. We also have been successful in applying for a grant from the U.S. Forest Service under the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative. We are going to be buying a large number of trees. And what we're going to do is purchase the trees on a quantity agreement and then distribute them to local governments and nonprofits. And all they have to do for the trees is agree to a 3-year maintenance agreement and a watering plan.
I see.
So
that was big a few years ago with the ash problem that we had with a lot of our communities, and a lot of trees were destroyed and they weren't replaced. So that's exciting.
Yeah, there's a lot of trees missing from the forested areas and from the cities that and trees do so much for environment. They filter water, they clean the air. There's tons of data. There's actually a program you can go to, iTree, calculate all the great things that trees do for you online. So we're really excited about that project too. So that's one of the probably most exciting things about the environmental department at NIRPC is that we can take projects past planning into implementation now.
That's great. What about an update on some of the brownfield stuff that you've been working on with RDA?
Right. We've been working with Regional Development Authority. We've had some grants to do brownfield assessment and remediation. So we particularly are working with the communities of Gary, Hammond, East Chicago. And part of that is, so land may be contaminated, may not be contaminated, but the idea that it could be is a huge unknown. It's in real estate transactions. So there's a lot of property that's sitting there unused because people just aren't sure. So really, we've been really successful at using federal brownfield grants to move bump some land from the don't know to the we know what's going on. It's kind of like if you were buying your house and you get an inspection and you find out, hey, this house is great, or this house may have this little problem, but now we know what it is. We can negotiate it and figure out what to do. So that's what we've been doing a lot with our assessment dollars. We've put some money into probably 30 or 40 properties have been assessed. Exciting. Yeah, phase one assessments across the 3 cities. Maybe some of them, we actually had like 800 properties in Gary that we screened, did a preliminary screen on, and narrowed that down to 40 that might have environmental issues, but that leaves a lot that are probably fine, which makes it so much easier to have redevelopment or new development in those cities.
So then once it's gone through the screening, we've done the phase analysis, and then it potentially becomes an opportunity to really promote that property with the economic development folks throughout the area and bring new jobs. Right. So that we're hoping to hear some really great success stories coming out of that program.
Right. And so we're, I think, brownfields in Northwest Indiana has been in fits and starts. So this is a new start for us, and we're starting to see things advance and really looking forward to that. redevelopment in the northern.
And that's awesome. And again, I think a lot of things that we're hearing from the different resources in regards to some of the water shortages that are occurring on the West Coast, potentially as economic development for organizations and communities right around the Great Lakes area. And so I know this is going to be a boon for growth and potentially manufacturing jobs and new opportunities coming to Northern Indiana. So we're really excited about that. So I can't wait to hear more about that, Kathy. So I know one of the things that we've been working on with NIRPC has been our Green Fleet program. And, we're very excited about some of the opportunities that are coming forward in 2017. And, some of the things that we had the opportunity to work with just recently is we had put in some grant applications that we were awarded for Northern Indiana, and basically it was a designation of some alternative fuel corridor projects. And basically in Indiana, the state of Indiana, the federal highway has actually given us, acknowledged that I-80 and I-94, basically all of Northern Indiana, has been designated as an alternative fuel corridor project. So that the designation had occurred, and that happened with our partnership with NIRPC. And then just most recently, right before the holidays, we had put in grant funding, and now we've been awarded grant funding to actually implement projects or stations and potentially some vehicles that are going to allow us to have like this alternative fuel corridor. So again, it's going to potentially impact economic development by having different types of alternative fuel stations along I-80 and I-94, and then potentially stops like at our national parks. Hopefully that we would have opportunities to work with the travel bureau agencies, and then linking these electric vehicles potentially anywhere from Canada all the way to Montana. So, it's a huge undertaking, and I just want to say, it's just been wonderful, the collaboration that we've had working with NIRPC, but then also, some of the things that are creating additional opportunities, how we've been able to leverage that, not only for our communities, but for our area, and bringing some of these clean fuels and clean things back to Northwest Indiana. So we're really excited about that.
Yeah, and I'm really excited at some of the work that South Shore Clean Cities and Carl have been able to do with the Green Fleets program, which there's a lot of organizations, both cities, towns, private entities that operate fleets of vehicles, and it's so much more efficient to work on educating fleet operators on maintenance, fuels, energy savings, emission control, because you can get maybe a lot of vehicles shifted into a cleaner mode efficiently. And South Shore Clean Cities has been doing that through workshops, through one-on-one technical support for some of our municipalities. This year, we're going to do a new kind of emphasis on our transit operators, which and they can range from, the human services organizations, programs where the Dial-A-Ride programs that for seniors, and fixed transit like Michigan City and some other Valparaiso and other parts of the region. And so we're going to take the Green Fleets program and work with them on how to be greener and cleaner and also more efficient. That saves money and is better all around for all of us. So
yeah, and it's exciting. And again, I think what we've seen by the collaboration with all the communities and with the transit operators is that they're interested in, through another grant program that we are allocated, is we have the opportunity for our organizations actually to test these vehicles. It won't cost them anything. And the grant actually will pay for the leasing of the vehicle, and they're responsible. So that has been really overwhelming, and we've seen a lot of our communities and even some of our businesses that have been looking at this that potentially that will put them over the edge, and as they start replacing their vehicles, will go to more efficient, energy efficient vehicles.
Because people don't know. There's a lot of you don't know. This is new. It's different. Is it going to work as well as what I'm used to? If it's a police car, is it going to go as fast as, another fuel? Or, I've always run my diesel school bus for 4 hours in the winter to get it warmed up. I don't know if I want to try something different. So this has been a great program to the Midwest Drives, right? To share, Drives, yes. To try out the vehicles for enough period of time to actually see how they work.
Yep. As we move on to some other things, Kathy, why don't you talk a little bit about, one of the big things that has been going on in our area has been the NICD, the South Shore double tracking efforts. Tell us NIRPC's involvement with that.
Well, so one of our roles is called Metropolitan Planning Organization, and this is a role that's required, and if federal transportation dollars are going to go into an urbanized area, you have to kind of be coordinated and work together to use them efficiently and effectively. This is a great idea because it reduces a lot of potentially wasted dollars. So any projects that are planned in either highway projects, transit projects, train projects have to be approved by NIRPC and all the elected officials in the area. That's our official role with the double tracking, is that projects that NICD embarks on have to be officially incorporated into the regional plan. They have to be vetted through this collaboration of local officials, and they have to show fiscal constraint, which has to show that there's the local part of the money and in place to match the federal part of the money, that everybody has skin in the game. So that's our official role. We also, it's important from our point of view that all of the transportation network meets the air quality standards, that the transportation network isn't putting too much pollution in for the air to meet the healthy air standards. So that's part of it too. So all the projects that NICD is working on, including the double tracking, have to meet all those requirements. And that's part of our responsibility to look at them through that lens. Specifically, the double tracking project is really exciting to me because it's going to provide way better service for people along the existing route. It's going to be able to trains not to have to get kind of stuck behind other trains or wait for freight trains, because there'll be more routes. It will have speed the time. So the time from downtown Michigan City to the loop in Chicago on the train will be less than an hour. So that really makes it a lot more convenient for a lot more people to use the train. Right. Which is good for everybody, because then it takes them off the road, and there's safety aspects and a lot of things. So, so that's what's exciting to me as the environmental director, is all the environmental benefits of better and faster and more train service. And
I've seen a lot of collaboration, though, Kathy. I mean, I think, this affects our whole listening area. I mean, taking the double track, I believe, to South Bend all the way, here into Illinois. Right. And again, I think, one of the things that I've seen over the last couple of years is the collaboration of NIRPC working with Chicago, working with Southwest Michigan, working with Wisconsin, and looking at things not individually but holistically. Right. And how we are, working together to reduce pollution and efficiencies, and I'm really excited about that, because I think the collaboration that we're seeing, and the potential grant opportunities to work together, the business opportunities will be tremendous. So as we talk about some of the, I know you just recently had some public input, public sentiment about various issues. You did some regional surveys, and like a lot of the environmental issues did not rank as the top concerns for citizens. So why do you think that happened, and why do you think people should care about that? Well,
I think, so there's a lot of different reasons, and NIRPC hasn't done, we're getting ready to kick off our new air quality survey. So if you get called and people ask your opinion about the air, please take a few minutes to do the survey, because that would really benefit all of us to understand what people think, and make sure we're giving you information that you need and want. But I think that the environment has improved so much that people take it for granted now when they didn't. I mean, I can remember driving through Northwest Indiana when you could see the air every day, or hold your breath for long periods of time, and it wasn't very nice. It's a lot better now. It's not perfect. There's still things that you can't see that may not be great, but it's so much better that I think people put it to the side of take for granted and don't have to work at it. But the reason it's better is because we've been working at it for 20 or 30 years.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of people complain about getting their vehicles tested in Lake and Porter County. It's such a small amount of time that you spend doing that for such a huge benefit to the air. And if you're not doing that, we have to still prove that we're reducing those emissions from vehicles. And if we're not doing it that way, we're going to probably have to do it some other way that might be more costly or time consuming or things like that. So,
and again, I think as you say that, Kathy, I think a lot of times people don't realize, even some of our political leaders, what it's not just NIRPC not saying, this is the federal government basically that's dictating a non-attainment area for this. And, following those, and it's not caused by industry, it's caused by transportation.
A lot of it is. A huge part of it is caused by transportation. Another thing too is people say, well, if the air's so much better, that's why we're not worried about it anymore. But the problem is it's still in a lot of places, and sometimes it's localized places, it's not good enough for people with health issues, right? I have a daughter with asthma, or my father had COPD. There's a lot of people for whom, even if the air is better, it's still hard for them, or when you have to tell your child not to go outside and play. So that's kind of why we still talk about it. And so maybe it drops off the radar for healthy people and people who are living in communities with lots of trees. But in other parts of the region, we do still need to work on it so that everyone can have clean enough air to breathe. And it also, there's not a free lunch anywhere. So if you don't take care of the air quality or keep the air quality better, then more people are in the emergency room with asthma problems. So
it adds up to additional costs.
Yeah.
And that, that's very interesting. As we talk about, putting our futures cap on, what do you think are some of the programs, some of the things that we're going to see in 2017 with NIRPC?
Well, we're going to continue to do our air quality advertising and programs, and we're going to try to provide maybe more information to people that have thought about taking transit and don't know how, or just don't know how it works here, because it's complicated here because we have a lot of small systems and connecting the dots is hard. We're going to, like I mentioned before, do the survey and ask people, what do they know about the air? Do they know what they can do to help the air, or what they're already doing is great? We want people to know, oh, you made a good choice today. And focus on that. We are going to be implementing the air quality plan, or the watershed plan. We are at NIRPC going to be completing our greenways and blueways plan.
And talk about that. What is that?
Well, we have combined our non-motorized active transportation plan, which is kind of the plan of where trails go through the region, as well as plans and best practices of how to design streets so they're safer for people and bikes and cars. And so we've combined those into one plan.
Okay.
And also Blueways is about recreational opportunities on our waterways. And we actually did put a draft out. We got significant public comment back. So we do listen to the public comments. So we're taking that all under consideration and revising the plan. And we're going to be back out with that soon.
A lot of things that I've experienced throughout all of Northwest Indiana are the roundabouts. And I think, a lot of times when things are new, people have situations, let's just say, and complaints. But again, I think, even for my own personal use, it has just become so simplistic, keeps traffic moving. And I don't know if there's been any studies that have been done after the implementation of some of these things, how it's improved air quality, improved efficiencies.
It definitely improves traffic efficiency and it improves safety. So especially when they're new, and that is something to look for. There are more roundabouts going to be planned throughout the region. So it probably takes 5 to 10 years for a project to come to fruition in a lot of transportation projects. So your roundabout that may be new in your community has been being worked on for a period of time to be engineered and planned. But particularly in safety, sometimes the roundabouts have a slight increase in fender benders, but they have a much stronger decrease in major accidents that with injuries and trauma and things like that. So it's sort of a shift from that to the other. And there's definitely more traffic moving and less time just idling and waiting to go. And as people get better and better at them, that will continue to increase.
So as we wrap up our show, Kathy, how are we doing environmentally in our area, land, air, and water? How would we grade ourselves in regards to some of our accomplishments for the last couple of years and moving forward?
I think, well, I mentioned that, the air is getting a lot better. I think we're going to see more work on continuing to maintain that, and more on continuing to monitor the air to demonstrate that we are doing better. I think we're going to still need to focus on what we've done, keep doing what we're doing, which is reduce our fuel use, reduce our idling, and get our vehicles tested in order to show that we're still doing it.
Sure.
I think, but I do think it continues to get better. I think on the land side, we're seeing more interest in reinvesting in the urban areas. I think the best way to protect the water and the forests and the wetlands that we have is to reinvest in the communities that already have infrastructure. They already have streets, and they already have electricity and plumbing and all that things. And that, I think that we're learning more about that. And it's more efficient, otherwise you're building new stuff and replacing old stuff. Part of the reason, so many of the cities are having problems with old drinking water pipes are because, they have less people to support the infrastructure. We built it. So yeah, that's a big thing. And I think that's ongoing actually in our transportation money too. We're really trying to focus on the number one priority is to preserve the roads we have. It costs hundreds of thousands of dollars just to resurface one lane mile of road. So every new lane mile of road is a future cost. Sure. So I think we're doing a lot of planning around that.
Well, we're excited about the future of Northwest Indiana, and we're excited about some of the great things that are going to be happening in 2017 with our involvement with NIRPC. And if people wanted to get involved on some of the things, what is NIRPC's website, Kathy? www.nirpc.org. We have recently reorganized our website, so it should be easier to find things there. Also, we're actually going to be at the Porter County Home and Garden Show on Saturday with a booth there with a lot of our air quality information. We'll have information on, we have a rain garden manual and lawn to lakes manual, which is about gardening and caring for your yard in a water friendly way. So we have a lot of that information we'll be handing out. So, and that's always a really fun event, just thinking about spring, right? It sort of feels like spring right now, which doesn't seem right for this Michigander, but so that's a really good time. And so you can come and actually talk to people there. Good. Yeah. And I know there's so much going on in regards to opportunities for people to get involved with their communities and with some of the environmental opportunities here in Northwest Indiana. And so, again, Kathy, thank you for being on our show. We look forward to a great 2017. And that will do it for today's edition of the Green Radio Network. I'm your host, Carl Lissick. Thanks again to our guest and sponsor, Kathy Luther of NIRPC. And be sure to join us again on WIMS Radio and Girard Media for the next edition of the Green Radio Network. And visit us online at southshorecleancities.org. And remember, it's never too late to begin your environmental legacy. Thank you, everybody.